no matter what, this is my child. I love her just as much as I love my son. He was 2 at the time, navigating the pregnancy differently, not having certain expectations of anybody around me. So
Sure.
fast forward to 2015, I really kind of hit a very low point with my depression, and it just overcame me. So I was hospitalized, and usually when you go in, they have a set number of days you have to be there. And what I had was someone, a therapist, a psychiatrist, who's used to dealing with people and all their symptoms and all their medication and all of their symptoms and all of their issues. And he looks me in the face and says, I'm releasing you 2 days early because I know what you're going home to. And I said, what does that mean? I'm going home to the very place where all of this took place. And he said, but in your home, you have love. You have people who support you. And he says to me, I've been told that you've received over 40 phone calls since you've been in here. And I was only in there 2 days. So he said 20 calls a day from family and support tells me you're not going home alone, that there are people that are going to be checking on you, that are going to be loving on you and making sure that you feel supported in what is about to be one of the biggest struggles of your life, which is the recovery after the hospitalization. And it just clicked to me, while leading up to this, I felt alone. I felt like no one cared. I felt like, I had to find happiness in other people, knowing that there were people that cared enough to just call. They couldn't talk to me, but they could call and just say, hey, how is she doing?
Right.
What can we do when she comes out to support her? When do you think she's coming out? Asking these questions, not for me to recognize they were doing it, just because they wanted to know. It triggered something that I can't ever lose, right?
Right.
When you think you're not loved, when you feel like you're unloved, or you feel like no matter what you do, you can't find happiness, and then you discover it's staring you right in the face. I was met at the hospital by 5 people who didn't have to be there. I got home to 5 people who didn't have to be there. And for almost 30 days straight, I was never left alone.
Yeah.
Because one person researched and found out that people have relapses in the first 30 days. So they were like, all right, for 30 days, we can't leave her alone. Someone has to be there. I can remember watching Hunger Games, all 3 of them. This was before the final one came out. Watching the Hunger Games, like we watched all of them before this person went home, just because that was the day she chose to be with me. So it changes your perspective when you come out to that, and then you just start to find day to day. You get all these tools when you go to therapy. What makes you happy, who makes you happy, and then on the flip side of that, what doesn't make you happy? What are the things that trigger you? You identify those things, you start to weed those out. And then it becomes a choice every day. I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to find something to be happy about. It could be something as simple as a corny joke my daughter told me, but I'm still here, to hear the corny joke. It can be an argument with my son. I'm still here to have that argument. A few weeks ago was the anniversary of that day I was hospitalized, and I keep glossing over it, and I told myself a long time ago I would not do that. I had attempted to take my own life. So, and I don't want to gloss over that, because when you say it's an episode, when you call it a hospitalization, people don't really get the depth of how sad or depressed or how low you were to not want to live. So I posted on the anniversary that I'm grateful today. I'm happy today because of the pain. Like, I'm still alive to feel pain. I'm still alive to experience hurt. But I also know on the flip side of that, there's so much more. Every time I've endured pain, I can't tell you how beautiful the other side of it was. My faith is important to me, which is where my joy is rooted in, because, sometimes you have to remind yourself, lived and died for me. Like, all of this was for me, not just for everybody else. I'm not excluded from that number, kind of thing. So happiness, it's a choice that I make every day, because I could choose to be sad. I could choose to be angry. There's so many emotions we can choose. But if we work at happiness, if we start with joy first, right? Like, rooted in you, rooted in your faith, rooted in things that are not tangible, that you can't touch, it's hard for happiness to be fleeting.
Absolutely. So well said. Guys, if you're new here, this is a show that we do every single Monday night. It's called Gratitude, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Like I said, every Monday night, and the show is about finding people who wish to show thanks during their life or our life. You know, each week's guest, we recall circumstances, people, and memories that have humbled us, that have humbled them. And every week we try to help them reflect and grow through the act of gratitude. And as we're talking to Miss Viva Diva, she's certainly sharing such an amazing story about happiness and certainly some things that she's been in her life, you know, being in the hospital, having people there that she can depend on that didn't necessarily have to be there. And that's the topic that we're reflecting with her tonight is happiness. And, you know, as I think about a lot of things in my life, you know, certainly, you know, nobody's perfect. We all struggle. We all have things that kind of get us down. We've been in certain situations and circumstances that have not necessarily shown the best side of ourselves that we either want to see or show to other people.
Right.
But, you know, as we think about happiness, we think about joy, we think about, you know, compassion and other things like that. You know, like I was saying, it all comes together. I think for me, especially, you know, happiness is being able to have, you know, really important people in your life. You know, just I made a great post the other day, you know, that I had one of the biggest weeks on the entire app, you know, finishing up yesterday. And I posted on my Instagram about how grateful I was for that and how, you know, thankful and appreciative I am of the people that continue to support me. Just like I'm sure that you're very happy and grateful for the people that support you. And it's certainly such a humbling experience. And it does bring a lot of happiness and joy. I mean, you know, some people kind of get caught up in the interesting and colorful things on the app. But, you know, really at the end of the day, it's about the people. It's about the relationships. It's about the connections that you have with people, certainly. And, you know, for me at the end of the day, you know, that really is just a one, you know, small example of what happiness has been brought certainly to my life, you know, on a daily basis. And as you share your personal story about where you were at, I mean, wow, that's just, I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, 40 calls in 2 days. I mean, there's a lot of love, you know, coming your way. You know, probably people that you didn't even know, you know, thought of you that way. You know, all they did was heard you were in the hospital. They heard that you had some things going on. They heard that you were struggling. They heard that maybe your family was, you know, having a lot on their plate. And to know that that many people called you and for the doctor to tell you that, I'm sure is certainly a very humbling experience for you. And certainly would be for me, especially, you know, because that's just, wow, you don't even know what to say to that, honestly, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, when he said it, I was just kind of like, who's calling up here?
What?
Like in my head, like who would be
Are
calling?
you talking about the right person? Do they have
Right, right.
calling for me? Or
right? Because I certainly hadn't felt that, right? And what it did was help me to realize I have to be cautious of who I choose to put in the place to lean on. You know,
Sure.
when you're trying to get through things, happiness a lot of times is going to be a feeling that you feel because certain things are going on. And you need to surround yourself with happy people that are happy for you genuinely, you know. So what I had to do was kind of look at who I was surrounding myself with that wasn't calling versus who. And to this day, I don't know who all actually called. I just know who showed up every single time and every single day. So in my mind, those had to be the people calling to check on me. And, you know, even though we don't talk every day, those are people I feel indebted to. You know, when I think of them and I see pictures from them or on their social media, it reminds me of that time. So rooting myself in people and connecting with people, especially, you know, during COVID was really important to me because it was easy to get isolated and, you know, to get stuck in a bubble is what I call it. I always, when I feel like I need to withdraw from things just to recoup, I put myself in this bubble. And it was important to me that I also reached out to certain people that I needed to keep myself, one, sane, because
of course,
I'm homeschooling and, you know, no one's going anywhere. I'm extremely extroverted, so there's nowhere to go if I wanted to go there in the first place. But that was one of the things, and that's also something I choose every day. Am I going to choose to be around people that make me happy and bring me joy, or am I going to surround myself with people that make me feel bad about myself, or I feel hurt me at times, or intentionally hurt me? Because we all know we can do and say things that are hurtful, but when people intentionally hurt you or do things to hurt you, being able to say, okay, this isn't bringing me what I need. I'm
Right.
going to step away. It was really important for me to cultivate that, which is why I say having to choose happiness. It may not make other people happy. It may not be what people want to hear, but if you are not bringing happiness, and in fact, if you don't bring joy into my life, because you're not joyous and you're not celebratory of just, I celebrate some of the smallest things. It's silly, but again, there was a time where I may not have been here to experience it. And I think a lot of people can attest to that, maybe not going through the same thing I did, but being sick, a car accident that you just missed having kind of thing. So I look at things from that perspective of I'm still here to experience this.
Yeah.
And I've gone through so much. Like, I don't think, a day of, a bad day on the app is going to kill me.
Yeah.
It's not going to take that away from me. So I don't allow certain things to just get that space of taking away my joy. It keeps me sane,
It absolutely does. And, you made a wonderful, great point in the fact that I think sometimes that we can, as people, get very caught up in life. Certainly when you add an element of being on a live stream, you deal with the pressures of that, or being a streamer, or whatever the case may be. You can kind of get caught up in that. You can get kind of caught up in real life things. But, like I said, you made a really good point in the fact that, it's the little things that matter in life. It's such the simple things that it may not necessarily mean a lot to other people, but it only really matters if it matters to you. Right. And that, I've always certainly tried to instill that in my own personal life, and realize that, you can get a lot of happiness and joy in small things. It doesn't necessarily have to be entirely materialistic. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you can buy on a shelf, or, something that you invest in, or anything like that. You can surround yourself, like you said, with great people. You can surround yourself in great situations that can not only benefit, other people that you're around, but certainly bring a lot of joy and happiness into your own life. So That certainly, I think, is really important, because I think, like I said, you can kind of get hung up on the bigger picture when it's the real small things on an everyday, basis that we tend to, as human beings, sometimes really forget about.
Right. And, it's something I'm trying to instill in my kids.
And that was going to be something I was going to ask you, is as much of an importance that happiness is to you in your life, what are things that you try to instill in your children? What are things that you try to represent for them to see, for them to say, like, wow, mom's really happy, or mom really brings a lot of joy into things that you do every day? What are certain things that you try to teach to them that help them see that this is the definition of that?
Right. So it's funny, because when they were very young, I was single, and I was praying and asking God to give me someone that would love me and support me, so that my kids could see me being loved and supported in a healthy way.
Right.
Because that's how you learn how to be that, when you
absolutely.
And 2019, a lot of things happened, and it clicked. While I was still single, I had people in my life loving and supporting me every step of the way. My children saw me go through losing another child, my grandmother, all kinds of, they saw me going through all this within a very short span of time. And our dog passed away. And it was really interesting to me, because this is when I realized I was doing it without doing it.
Right.
And it just really it just snapped. And I was in tears, and my son's like, well, what's wrong? And I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sad that the dog died, and I got that dog for you. And he goes, but it's not your fault, mommy. And I said, okay, but I'm still sad about it. And he just said, Mom, you got to understand, like, you're probably the best mom in the world, which, you feel great as a parent. And I asked him why he said that. He said, because I watch you just fight sometimes just to get up in the morning and do what we need to do. And I know you want to stay in a bed. I know you don't feel well, but I see you get up and you fight, and you laugh and you smile with us. You play with us when you don't want to. You come and you sit at my games when I know you would much rather do something else. You sit through because he does Taekwondo. He's like, you don't like Taekwondo, but you come to every belt test and every tournament. So, like, most parents wouldn't do that. I was like, I think every parent would. He was like, yeah, but every parent doesn't deal with what you deal with, because I've never hidden from my kids what depression is, because I don't want them to think that I don't want to do things. I want them to understand, like, it's hard some days, but I get up anyway. And one day he's just kind of sitting in my bed and he's watching Monk. I don't know if anyone remembers the
A
show.
really good show, used to come on USA Network.
Really, it's an amazing show, but he's sitting on the bed and I'm playing on my phone and he's sitting there eating like some sort of snack and he's just dancing and he's singing along to the theme song. And I look over and I record him and he goes, you know, Mom, this is a really great show. I'm so glad you showed it to me. And I was like, why are you singing and dancing like that? He's like, I don't know. When I hear it, it makes me happy. And in that moment, you know, you want to cry because you're like, I used to watch this when I was in college and now my kid's watching it and he appreciates it just as much as I do. But it makes me happy. And I'm like, it's just a
small thing.
It's just a
It's
thing.
a small thing. Yeah.
So, you know, little stuff like that. You know, my daughter gets excited about Poppets. It's a toy where it's like bubble wrap, but it's plastic. So you can just repeatedly push it one way or the other. She got one at school the other day and came home, Mom, look, the teacher got me a Poppet. You know, those
okay, yeah,
you know, is great. Now I could go buy them a $500 iPad and they feel like it's an obligation.
right.
But I appreciate that they can see these small things as something to be to love, to be happy about, you know, and the joy they get when they see their cousins and, you know, they get a phone call or FaceTime from my mom. Those things are telling me that I'm doing things the right way, right, in terms of teaching them what happiness and joy really are versus just giving them a lot of things that are for the moment.
Absolutely, because, you know, at such a young age, especially for children, you know, their minds are like sponges. Everything that they see, everything they absorb, you know, information, you know, examples in their life, people that they see, good, bad attitudes, that stuff can kind of mold and shape them at a very young age. And, you know, like with you, especially being a mother, you know, you want to set the example, you know, from, you know, a moral and, you know, value standard. And, you know, you certainly want to keep the bar high for that. And I think any parent, obviously, that would like to certainly have their children succeed and to have, you know, good morals and values, try to continue to do that, you know, all the time. And so I think that you certainly, you know, everybody struggles, you know, but I'm sure that, you know, you have been very good and very gracious at being able to set the example for them, you know, on a daily basis, for them to see what happiness and joy and all that stuff really means. So,
yeah. I'm big on, I write them letters for holidays and birthdays. My son hates it because now he's like, oh, yeah. Because I always make him read it, like sit down and read it. And at the end of it, I always tell them that I'm honored to be their mom. And my son doesn't get it. He's like, okay. But my daughter read it one day and she was like, is this true? And I said, of course it is. She was like, why are you honored that I'm your daughter? Like, I haven't done anything. I'm only 9. You know, you don't like when I do this. My daughter and I are very different personalities. She's like, you don't like when I do this. I was like, I'm still honored because I get to, you know, I get the honor of watching you grow. Yeah. And I get to take some credit for it when you get older. So I'm honored because it's a blessing to have you. There are a lot of people who don't have little girls at all, let alone one especially. So I try to make it a point to let them know that they are, it's truly an honor to be their parent.
And as they get older, as they learn to understand that kind of stuff a little bit more, it's stuff that they'll be able to look back at the letters, look back at the cards, and say, "Wow, you know, they read this, they read what the words are that you've written on the page," and be like, "Wow, Mom really thought this much of me." Or they, you know, they look at that kind of stuff and they're like, okay, I get it now. I understand what she was trying to do. I understand the example that she was trying to set, and it, you know, it just kind of all comes together. In closing, is there anything that you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to share with anybody to kind of leave them with any kind of gratefulness or happiness to end your conversation with me?
Honestly, I just think that sometimes we just have to take ourselves out of the equation and just look around. Right. we experience, every one of us experienced 2020 from our own perspective. And some of us lost people, some of us didn't lose anyone. Some of us watched our friends lose people. And I think it's important that we just acknowledge that we're still here. Yeah, we're different. You know, a lot of the stuff we wanted to do got canceled, but we're still here. We're still, you know, living, breathing. We're able to have these conversations. We have so much to be grateful for. I think waking up every day should be the first thing that you show gratitude for. Whether it started off as a bad day, whether you went to bed in a bad mood, just waking up every day and not getting a phone call that you lost somebody, or even, you know, just knowing that you are still here. That's enough to find happiness in, because it's a day to make something better or help somebody else make their day better, right? You know.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Guys, if you have an opportunity, please hit this amazing woman with a favorite. She's such a great person. I've certainly just enjoyed the conversation with you. I thank you again so much for taking the time to be here and sharing, you know, so many vulnerable and personal things with you in your life. And I just thank you again so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone. Thank you for the gifts, guys.
Thank you. Wow, guys, that's certainly a wonderful, wonderful way to start out a great show on a Monday night. Again, guys, this is a show we do every single Monday. It's called Gratitude, and the show is about finding people who wish to show more thanks during our life, their life. You know, each week we have guests that recall circumstances, you know, people and memories that have helped humbled us, that have humbled them, and it helps us reflect and grow through the act of gratitude. So that's a show that we do every single Monday night, guys, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Certainly as well, if you have an opportunity, please try to hit the trending. Look at the top of the banner. There's so many wonderful shows on the app, so many wonderful things of content that people are putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into. Cooking shows, dating shows, exercise shows, things about, you know, the military, you know, things like that. So I think that we as streamers, or we as people that just kind of pop around the app, certainly take the time to do that. Please try to support these people. I mean, they really do put a lot of time and effort into what they're trying to do. So again, guys, just please try to support them. And as we're all trying to grow on this amazing app. As we switch gears from happiness, and we were certainly sharing a wonderful conversation with Fiva about that, we're going to switch to our new topic this week, guys. And this week's topic is family. And that's certainly something we're going to get into. And at this time, I'm going to have Miss Bad at Love come in the box, and we're going to have a wonderful, amazing conversation with her.
Sunglasses off.
Welcome, welcome.
What's
How
going
are
on?
you? So good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, guys.
Absolutely. Yes, I love it. I love it. What was kind of your thoughts about, you know, talking and hearing the conversation with people? What was really what you thought about the reflection of happiness?
It's definitely something that you have to strive for every day. I mean, it's not something that comes easy, and a lot of people, you know, misery loves company. I think everybody can agree on that.
Right.
So, you know, pulling yourself out of that definitely is a blessing and something that you have to work on. We go through different life changes, and part of therapy, they always teach you, you know, red light, green light. Does this person bring something positive? If they don't, get rid of them. And sometimes that's family. So
Very much true.
A fun spinoff.
If you kind of want to just sort of introduce yourself to everybody that's maybe not familiar with you, if you kind of want to talk about anything personal, anything from a streaming standpoint, you know, you're certainly welcome to do that right now. The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, you're good. So I'm Bad at Love. I've been on the app for almost a year. Haven't been as fluent as most people. Thank you. That's one thing that, you know, I've kind of taken some time off for personal choices, and, you know, kind of recollected on coming back, and now I've got some time and, you know, some more dedication to add to the app. So
absolutely. Well, it's certainly you know, as we were all talking about, a great platform and opportunity to get to know so many people, to be able to bring a lot of joy and happiness into our life. And certainly, you know, family, you know, as we get into that topic tonight with you, where does your mind really go when you think about family? what's certainly a definition for you, or what does that really mean to you when you hear those words?
Family's what you make it. I don't believe that your blood is necessarily the best thing for you.
Right.
My family's kind of psychotic, and I love them all dearly, but they all have their own issues. I don't think anybody has a cookie cutter lifestyle, and that's one thing that I think that, those secrets don't always come out to light. And people always portray to keep up with the Joneses. I think that's usually kind of the motto that people still kind of go through. So it's interesting to see people's perceptions. I make my own family. I don't pretend to be anything other than who I am. And some parts of my family love it, and other people are, oh, you're a disappointment. Thank you, B. So that's definitely something that, you create your own. I'm a single mom, so I created my own. And then I have amazing friends that I do consider more so my family. They probably know more about me than my own family does. So that's definitely something that you make your own.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've certainly, I completely 100% agree in the fact that nobody has a cookie cutter situation of their family. I mean, we all have people in our lives that have not necessarily done a lot of things that we would agree with, or maybe, set their own path with things that we wouldn't necessarily do. But,
Right.
Family is important. Certainly I think it's very important to be grateful of family, and like you said, you don't have to be blood to be family. There's certainly been a lot of people, not just on the app, but in my real life, that I feel really, close with and feel like are very important in my life. And I certainly, value those friendships like
Right.
they are family.
Oh,
And I completely
absolutely.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's, I mean, growing up, family was never really a big standard. As close as my family is, they were very separate. They were very driven, very business oriented. So kids kind of fall short in a lifestyle like that. So one part of my family is mostly business oriented, and the other parts are rebels, and they're HA members and kind of crazy. So, it's kind of figuring all those parts and figuring out where you fit in.
Right.
And coming through a family that, I grew up with a narcissistic mother, and having those kind of tendencies hurt a child. And I kind of don't want that for my daughter. So I kind of separate from my family as much as I can.
Yeah.
I love them dearly, and I love every part of their craziness, but I definitely don't think that everybody's perfect.
Right.
And there's always those deep-seated issues that do stem from family. When you grow up in a family like that, that's something that you have to deal with.
Yeah. I think in my own personal experience was a little bit different. I have always been very and extremely close to my own family. I certainly have been very blessed with a mom and dad that have tried to set some type of example for me in my life. Not that I've always probably lived up to that,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly they've tried to pave, the path for that. And, I've always been very fortunate for that, especially I think that, like you said, everybody's got different opinions. Everybody has different experiences, but it doesn't mean that someone's right or wrong in what they've experienced. It just means that everyone's different. And
Right. And
so,
you choose what defines you. Your family
absolutely.
does not define you. That is one thing that I've learned in this life, and I will never regret the choices that I've made, because it does shape who you are. So they've made those choices, and some people love them, and then some people frown upon them. So it's, and don't get me wrong when I say that, they're psychotic and crazy and they all have their own issues. They're very much together. That's one thing that I strive for with my daughter, is that they're important, but it's okay to keep some of them at arm's distance.
Yeah.
The only person that you need to satisfy in this life is you, and make happy is you. You don't have to make your family happy.
Right.
If you try doing that, I mean, it's kind of like on the app. If you try to make everybody happy, somebody is always mad.
Right.
And you're left with going, well, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things that you have to balance out and say, you know what? You don't feed me. You're not with me. You don't contribute anything to my life. I don't care about your opinion.
Yeah. I think it's certainly important to, agree with what you're saying as well. Is family is important. Like you said, it doesn't have to be blood. Like you said, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're not going to be everybody's brand of vodka. But for the people that do support you, for the people that certainly, try to build something with you, just like you're building with them, that's the stuff that you have to focus on. That's the positivity that you have to bring in your own life, certainly. And then as people that may not necessarily know who you are, start to hear through conversations like, wow, Bad at Love is a really awesome person, or Jamison's a really nice dude. You can start adding to that family and be very grateful and appreciative of that, because, I think we're all on here in some way, shape, or form to continue to, make the best versions of ourselves.
Right.
And to be able to present ourselves in a way that people appreciate.
Yeah.
And I think that is certainly just something that is important, every single day.
It is.
To try to do that, in my own opinion. That's not.
No. And that's I had a little bit rougher start on this app. Not a lot of people are super familiar with it because I've kind of broke ties. But one thing that I found with this, I didn't know what streaming was, guys. I had no idea what this is. I found it during COVID, and honestly, it is an interesting playground of people. It is the empathetic and the narcissists, and we all play in the same playground. Yeah. So it's one of those things that you have to figure out who's in it for the friendships, the relationships, and the bonding. That's one thing that I always find interesting, because my streams are very crazy, and not always in a bad way, but they are very I guess sexualized in some form and fashion, because they see a pretty face, they see boobs, and that's the thing that they go off of. A lot of people that come to my stream all the time know that that's not who I am, and that's not my focus, and that I remember details about their lives. I can pick somebody out that I talked to in April, the month that I started on this app. I can tell you everything about them. It's one of those weird things that it just sticks out, because I genuinely care about that person.
Yeah.
And, that's one thing that you kind of do. You find your little niches, and you find people that you're more drawn to than others. It's kind of like a genre of music on this app.
Sure.
What you can depend on every time that you go into somebody's stream. And that's one thing that, if I want to be happy, if I want to be uplifted, I know who I'm going to go to. If I want to just have fun and not care, and people aren't watching what they say and they just don't give a crap, those are the people I'm going to go to. It's like genre of music. And I love that about this app, because not everybody is the same.
And it just really depends on what mood you're in. Guys, if you're new to the show right now, this is a show that we do every single Monday night. It's called Gratitude, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every single Monday night. We certainly just try to talk about things that people are grateful for, things about, situations in life that people are appreciative of, and to be able to do that in a positive way, to, certainly just be appreciative of what we're all trying to do each and every single day, and what certainly tries to mold and shape and make us as people. And certainly what we're doing with Bad at Love tonight is discussing, the topic of family and how important that is, whether it be in real life, whether it be on the app. And, we've just had such a wonderful conversation. I think, you've made a lot of wonderful points about the app, because I think that, it's certainly, I was like you in the sense where I didn't really know what it was at first. I didn't really know that I was, jumping into the deep end. I mean, I luckily did know how to swim a little bit, so I didn't drown.
Right.
But you didn't really know what you were getting into. But then, like I said, as we were getting back, to the topic of family, I've been able to certainly meet a lot of incredibly awesome and amazing people, and I'm very grateful for those situations and relationships.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I've met amazing people off of here, you being one of them. I've met Breezy, Top Badge. I've met Secret. I've met, a lot of smaller streamers that, aren't so well known. Mm-hmm. And I've formed my own family out of them. That's one thing that I never expected to find off this app, to be honest, because I definitely know that people come and go, and the people that I can depend on are, usually people that I've known forever. So to find people that are like-minded and that have that sense, I probably would have never found without this app. and I'm very thankful for it.
Absolutely.
Between people that I've known since I started on my first account, this is my second account. Um, and it's also brought me some pain. That's part of experiencing life, I think. But this app is definitely should come with a little bit of a warning label.
Yeah. I mean, there, like you said, there are a lot of times in life that things don't necessarily come with an instruction manual, and you have to kind of figure that out on your own. And, like as we said, it's like we're talking about the topic of family. I've been able to, sometimes I think that you change your family. I think sometimes you can start, here with people and
Right.
and end at a different place, and that not necessarily be always a bad thing. I've always been one of these people that try to really focus on more of the positive stuff
Oh,
instead of
absolutely.
the negative things. But I'm also realistic too. I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
Right.
But your relationships and friendships and family can change. And
Oh,
like I said, it can start here and end up in a different place. But
absolutely.
that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it certainly can help you learn. It can help you grow. It can help you shape yourself
Oh, yeah.
and
It's
the
been a
bond
roller
that you have
coaster.
with people. Yeah.
But that's the thing, and the one thing that I will say is that virtually, you can't always be on this app. That is one thing that I encourage people to not do. Take that break, take that step away, go to the people that have always been there that
Right.
you've kind of forgotten about. I've even caught myself doing it, which I never thought that I would. But that's one thing that I strive to make sure that I balance that out. If I take a break, I don't apologize for it. I needed it.
Yeah.
And it's to deal with my actual family. You don't want to forget, oh, my mom called that day. I'll get back to her. 3 days goes by. That's not normal for me. But you get yourself caught up in this app. And that's one thing that I always tell people, just to take a breather, go focus on real life. And as much as I love everybody, that's one thing that, they don't have to talk to me through this app.
Right.
Most of the people that I want to talk to have my number, they have other means of contact, and those are the people that I count on every day.
Yeah.
So,
As you were kind of discussing about, creating your own family and what that signifies with, your child and stuff, what are some examples of things that you want her to learn as she grows up about family, or what is important, for what she needs to see, from you, or what it really means to have the definition of a family?
her definition of family, I hope, will be that blood does not make you any more entitled to something that you don't deserve.
Mhm.
I am a single mom. He never, her father was never a part of her life when she was a baby. I hope that, someday when they meet, when she's 18, she can evaluate and understand the reasons why I did what I did. I
Right.
mean, I moved us across the country to ensure her safety. Different states have different laws. So in Oregon, I don't know if most people know, but, basically crack's legal. You get a ticket. So he got involved in methamphetamines, and it just wasn't a safe situation. And the one thing that I hope that she goes into that relationship, if she ever pursues it, is that he is not entitled to anything in her life.
Right.
He was not there since the beginning. He wasn't somebody that she could count on. I hope that she understands the true value of the people that are standing right in front of her every single day, that support her regardless of the situation, and takes confidence in knowing who's real and who's not.
Right. I love it. I really
So,
do. I think that's important, because I completely agree with you. Like I said, my experience with family was a little bit different, but I still like to grow my family. I still like to continue to have the commitment, and by love and
right.
conversation, and it certainly is really important for me every single day to do that. Like I said, I have a great relationship with my own family, but I always want to try to extend that. I always want to try to continue to grow that. I always want to continue to branch out and have the right people around me, because I think it certainly can help define me as wanting to be a better version of who I am
Right.
and improve, where I can, that then to the point where people can look at him and be like, oh, wow, he's a really good dude, or, he has a lot of great people around him that have been able to mold and shape him to be able to do that. So, I think for me, especially, that's what, family is for me going forward, is to continue to add to that, to continue to pursue, the level of greatness that I want in my own life, and certainly to try to instill in other people's.
Yeah. And that's one thing that you just have to figure out in life is you're not ever going to know seated issues. And I tell her all the time, like, you get to choose who you trust. Just because they are your family does not make them your friend.
Right.
And people will take advantage, and people will do the things that, how do I say this? It's one of those things that I've learned is just because they're your family does not make you their friend.
Right.
And people take advantage of your kindness, and they see it for weakness. And you have to still be kind, but understand the difference. And you can't save everybody. I wish there was a magical pill for that, but there's not. And, that's one thing that I don't ever want her to feel, that she has to take on the world. I definitely took on the matriarch of my family. I try to make everybody's problem a fix-it ordeal. And it drained the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. Like, that is exhausting. And I do not want her to feel like she has to fulfill her family in that way, because it's not right. It's not okay to put on your children. It's whatever makes them happy. If she wants to go be a zoologist, I know the college is going to be ridiculous and she'll probably never make any money. It's okay. If that's what makes her happy, go for it. But at the end of the day, it's what makes her happy. I don't care if she wants to be, an artist or something that I know is going to make her struggle through life. I have to be okay with that. My parents weren't. They were like, oh, music major? You're not doing that. You're going to go be a civil engineer. Okay, well, then I got pregnant, and then I moved, and now it's like, okay, cybersecurity is it. Because now I need that for my child. Not because I want it. I'm good at it. I enjoy it. Wasn't my dream. And that's okay. Because I had to make the sacrifice for her. I don't want her to make those sacrifices. So that's the difference. Your family makes sacrifices for you that most people wouldn't. I mean, there is nothing on this planet I want to do for my daughter. Nothing. And that's why we moved across the country, because I don't look good in orange. Thank you.
There you go. Anything that you'd like to kind of add in closing? Any words of encouragement you'd like to share with everybody, and to add to the end of the conversation? Because you're certainly an amazing person, and like I said, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I would want people to take away from the conversation is that you don't have to feel obligated to your family. Just because you were birthed by them or created by them does not mean that you are obligated to fulfill their happiness. Some people are just miserable, and we try to make them happy as much as possible. I say be there, but if it damages your mental health to be there, get the hell out.
Right. Yeah.
It's not worth it. Be happy. Make those choices that make yourself happy. As long as it's not hurting others, do what you need to do. So that's kind of one thing that, especially on this app, I really want people to understand that be careful. It's not always a good place. Absolutely. And, Meet Me can't solve the world's problems. They can't police everything. Make good choices. And if you see there's something wrong, stay away. And that's one thing that, we all have to make different choices, and, and love the people around you. There's some really great people on this app too. It's not all bad.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that was so well said. Guys, please hit her with a favorite. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing friend of mine. I certainly think a lot of her. I actually have met her in real life. She is just as much of a cool person as she looks right now on the screen. So Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking
Absolutely.
the time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you on here.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Guys, wow. What a show. What a great start to a week, guys, right there. Two amazing people sharing two amazing topics, two amazing stories. It's so wonderful to have, such a platform and a way to be able to do this, to provide this for you guys every single week. Again, guys, if you're new here, the show is called Gratitude. It's about finding people who wish to show more thanks during their life. Each week's guest we recall circumstances, people, and memories that have humbled them, that have humbled us, and to help them reflect and grow to that to gratitude. So we had an amazing story with Phoebe talking about happiness, and certainly Bad at Love shared a tremendous, perspective on what family means to her and how important that is. So that was the topic, guys. Just to reflect with you guys, we'll revisit that quote one more time about family. Family isn't defined only by last names or by blood. It's defined by commitment and by love. It means showing up when they need it most. It means having each other's backs. It means choosing to love each other, even on those days when you struggle to like each other. It means never giving up on each other. So I want to leave you guys with that. Next week's topic, guys, this is what we're going to discuss. We're going to get into a very interesting topic, I think, is something certainly very exciting for me. It's called, or how I worded it was, back to the new normal. So just to kind of explain that a little bit, we're going to talk about being grateful, back to the new normal. There's certainly a lot of states and places that are opening back up, trying to get over COVID and things like that. So back to the new normal as we transition back to how things kind of were, before COVID, back to the new normal, how you're grateful for what we've experienced for the last year and a half as people, how we've experienced things for our life financially, in our jobs, anything like that. And certainly to be able to try to talk about that and how, getting back to what we want in our life, what maybe we had before COVID was there, and how we maybe not necessarily want to have that in our life now. So that's what we're going to go with, guys, next week is back to the new normal. I certainly appreciate you guys being here. It's like I said, every Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Please hit me with that favorite. If you're ever interested in being on the show, you can hit my bio at the top. My Instagram link is there. You can hit me with that. And we can certainly try to have a conversation about being on the show. Certainly, maybe not next week, but any other week coming up. Again, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let this wheel spin out, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We had a great show. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.